Joining me today at the Rock Pit is the one and only Joe Camilleri of the Black Sorrows. The Black Sorrows are releasing their Quintessential Collection on October 24. It's a 21 song collection of the history that covers the history of the Black Sorrows, including one new track, For Your Love, which is the latest single. In my chat with Joe, which got off to a flying start, we didn't actually get to do an intro, hence this bit being recorded to introduce it all. In typical Joe style, full of stories, full of life, and full of the charm that he exudes. So sit back and enjoy our chat with Joe Camilleri of the Black Sorrows ahead of the release of Quintessential and ahead of the second leg of the tour, which is coming your way without a doubt. So without further ado, let me please introduce you to the one, the only Joe Camilleri.
I'm obsessed with learning some of I love ballads.
Yeah.
I love ballads, and I love of course, like everybody, the American songbook and all the beautiful tunes that people have written over the last 100 years. I mean, I can't believe that Stardust has been re-recorded 1,500 times.
Wow. My God, really?
1,500 times. Outrageous. That's I've written 400 songs, and he's had 1,500 covers, Hoagie Carmichael.
Well, there is something in that, I guess. It's quite incredible. But 400 songs within itself for you, that's nothing to sneeze at either.
Most of them are spare parts for something, aren't they?
Absolutely. Well, welcome
to. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
You just get sick of talking about yourself,
Yeah.
And there's a bigger picture. And it is a life, and it's the life you live, and you kind of try to live it the best you can. But it's, you're just walking through all these things, There's occasionally there's a signpost, or there's it's your station in life. You don't, not that you take things for granted. It's just, I wonder what a carpenter thinks, when he says, "Well, that's a nice stick."
I'm sure they do. I think that's.
I'd hope so.
That goes with any craft, I guess.
Yeah, and look, it's nice to have a record out. I know you can start any time you like, and I don't know if we've started, but it is a nice feeling to still feel part of the game, even though you're not really part of the game. That the joy of releasing something or delivering something to a record company. In this case, I've got the ABC looking after this record, hopefully with tender loving care, and there is a nice feeling about that. And because it makes you want to keep doing things. You have ambitions for more things, and you don't stop, and you don't want to stop, really. So even though time is in short supply as you get older.
It is indeed. But, I guess the main reason that we're here to chat today is to talk about this glorious package called Quintessential Joe Camilleri and the Black Sorrows, which is out November 24.
Yeah.
What a fantastic collection of songs. When it comes to putting together a package like this, how hard is it when we talk about, the depth of the songs that you've written, how do you go and pick
you get a broomstick.
Favourite children?
You get a broomstick first, you put them all and you start weeding them out. And the most difficult thing really is not necessarily having, you want the best songs that you've written there, but you also want to feel like the songs that are on it like each other. I mean, that's kind of a weird concept in itself, you know, they want to follow through in a way. And so I was thinking more as a listener, well, this kind of goes into this song really nicely, and this kind of creates the mood, and this creates nostalgia, and this gives you something new that people mightn't have jumped on when it was out. And it was never meant to be more than a beautiful song on an album, and has this opportunity to shine again behind all these songs that have been so strong. That's attractive. And it's reminiscent to the first time you play a record and you hear the opening track, which is normally their single or something like that. That's the song that you kind of open up with, and then you discover something in the band. You know, track 4, side 2. All of a sudden, there's your favorite song, or there's a ballad on it, or you get another dimension of what that band can do, and then you start following the band on a different level. And even though the song is full of the albums are kind of 60% nostalgia and 40% from the last 10 years, I just thought that the way that I will approach it is it's got to make me feel good after this particular song, or that is famous, or however you want to put it together. Feels like it continues, and it's not about so much about the past. It's about the journey that it's in front of you. You know.
For sure. And I mean, again, it's something that I've only recently just learned, and I'd love to hear it in your own words too about you. So, when you first formed the Black Sorrows back in 1983,
Yeah.
can we go back to the very beginning and to the origins of the name and that first Sunday session that solidified what would become the Black Sorrows?
Well, my mate Chris is a big music fan, and I didn't know him at the time. We were just living sort of like 2 blocks away, and I would pass, you know, he'd give me the odd nod, and then he kind of had the courage to say, "Hey, you know, I love the band." I said, "Oh, thanks, man." He says, "Look, you know, I just live here, 2 doors away from where I was walking." He says, "I've got all these records that, you know, like if you're up for it, you know, come and have a listen to some of these records that I've got, and you might like, you know, we can sort of kind of share the joy of listening to these things together and have a coffee and whatever." And I took him up on it, and he had a lot of Doug Sam records. He was playing a lot of that Texas music, and I liked that. I knew about it, and he says, "I've got this cafe uh, called the Cafe Neon, and we just started in South Melbourne, and you know, why don't you just come over and, you know, hang out, you know, and play. We play good music, and they played great music there. You know, they had really great music, and I did that. And then he sort of suggested, well, I was I was in between bands. I just finished with Jojo Zepp and the Falcons, and I had a couple of hits with Taxi Mary and Walk On By from a Child record. Excuse me. And but and I had a big band, and I felt that that was it went as far as it could. And I appreciated all the trimmings that came with it. And I was looking for something else, but I didn't really know what it was. And he said, and they're Greek, right? And he said, "Why don't you play on a Sunday afternoon? We'll call it the Black Zorros." you know, I said, what a weirdo. You know, it's like, okay, so I said, well, okay, well, I have to pull a band together. And I was listening to a lot of Zydeco music, which was not too far from where he was. And I had this really great record. I keep telling him, keep telling people about this record. It's worth having. It's called Another Saturday Night. Excuse me. Still available. And it's a compilation of different artists playing Zydeco music and people like Clifton Chenier. I'm not sure if he's on it or not, but and there was a couple of songs that I stole for the first album, off that album. There was The Promised Land. Can't think of the artist who played it. And I did a version of The Promised Land. And we played at his cafe, and I got this band together, and I knew a piano accordion player, George Petromlis, and he knew a violin player, Steve McTaggart. So, and I had Wayne, who was originally the member of the Falcons, who put the Falcons together originally. And I called him up and I said, look, this is weird. I think we've got a Greek wedding band. And, we should just play small instruments. You play guitar, I play a bit of mandolin or something like that. And I've got George, who plays piano accordion, and Steve, he works for the symphony orchestra. It should sound all right. And I got Wayne Duncan on the bass, and I think Gary Young might have. I don't know if Gary was on at that time, but I said, why don't we do that? You want to do this Sunday afternoon? There's not going to be much money involved, but it could be a hoot. It could be a real hoot. And Chris, God bless him, turned the S. He had a banner made out of bed sheets, and it had the Black Sorrows. He kind of did a funny S that should have been a Z. He did some weirdo thing. Thought he was artistic, And so we ended up, I said, well, that's pretty good. I said, it's kind of weird. We play really happy music, but with a Black Sorrows, And so I kept it. I didn't think anything of it. We just did the gig, and the gig just went over incredible because it was new. There was, as I said, it sounded like a wedding band on one level, where a European wedding band. They got the umpapa going, and Wayne had a few songs, and we just kind of jammed away, and there's a feeling. There was just this really nice feeling that sounded fresh, especially for me, because I've just come from the Char band, which was a 13-piece band, and that was great. And but it was full on. And then just before that, the Falcons were in full flight, doing doing the tour that after the breakup, we did one little tour of Australia, and to say thank you. And so this felt fresh to me, and there was fresh faces. There was a joy. I was playing with Wayne again, who is just a great singer-songwriter, and we liked the same music, and so that's how it kicked off. And then we did a couple of those, and then someone found another gig for us. And that was the gig that turned everything around for us on that level, because we made this little record called Sonola. It was like a test pressing, really. It was a test for AAV Recording Studios, because they just brought in a new Harrison console and they wanted to take the bugs out of it. So we were their guinea pigs, but they charged us, And in those days, it would be $2,000 a day, and a reel of tape was like $300. and I didn't have that. I didn't have that sort of money. So they said we can have two reels of tape, and but they get to get rid of what's on the tape after 4 weeks. You know, they give you 4 weeks. You can transfer it to 2-track, but that's all, or you buy the tape at $600. And the afternoon, 12 till 6, was the time that you had with an engineer for $1,000. All right. So we didn't have, you know, there wasn't a coffee break, I don't think, in that 6 hours. And that's how it kind of kicked off. And the very first song was A Brown-Eyed Girl. And Wayne was interested in doing the song. I hadn't heard it really. It was on the Bang Sessions. I probably would have heard it, Van Morrison Bang Sessions. Wasn't a hit in Australia. Not that we were looking for a hit. We were just sort of, apart from that song, playing our repertoire.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
The repertoire at the Cafe Neon, pretty much. So we at least had an advantage that we knew those songs. And we did that, and we got through it. We got through the engineer, Ross Cockle, would say, that sounds pretty good, move on, you know, because I said, well, I need to do 13 songs, and he just laughed, you know, just said, ain't going to do 13 songs. I think we ended up with 11 songs. We might have canned one song, and it was just full on. He'd say next. I think we only did about 3 overdubs. There might have been an acoustic guitar overdub here and there. It's about it really, and maybe a piano, accordion, and violin. I think on Brown-Eyed Girl, I think they did the introduction as a separate piece, and that was about it. There was no. I like it as a singer, but you know, and I'm really a bit sharp here and there, and I'm all over the place, and but there was just so much joy in it. No one needed to tell anybody anything. We just stood in a circle like you would, you know, if you can imagine sort of those record sessions in the 50s or something like that. You just kind of, in the early 60s, you just kind of, you got your station, you were in your station. The engineer has made a few baffles to sort of avoid some of the bleed, and you're at your own peril. Whatever it was is what it was going to be. So and then it was all very well to have something like a record. I went back and I said, well, can we hang on to the tapes? And he says, no, I've already cut them down to 2-track. Tape's gone. And so I didn't even have 4 weeks to buy the tape. So the 2-inch or the 2-track is all we have. I don't even think I have that even in my archives. I don't even have that. And he mixed it on the spot and mastered it pretty much on the spot, you know, like, and we took it to, somehow, I don't know how this happened, but I found a place that you could buy blank covers. And at the Cafe Neon, there was all these kind of artists that would hang out there. It was an old Greek club, and we were, you know, it's joyous when you see old men and old women kind of hanging around, and the boys would be playing dice and the girls would be making food and sitting around, and it was just, you know, life was pretty simple. And, you know, so it was very attractive for people. So there was this man that was a graphic designer, and he kind of did this thing. And then we got it screen printed. So, and then we did the screen print. We got a print. It was a 1-color print of the piano accordion, and we wrote some stuff on the back. And I think there's a couple of misspellings there on the back, but what the heck? And we thought, well, there we go, we got a record, and let's get back to our normal day job, and that's how it all kicked off.
Incredible. I mean, to hear that it started so organically and so simply, I mean, is really, an incredible story. Now, speaking of stories, Kate Ceberano on her most recent Australian-made tour told a story about you, and I don't know if you're aware of her telling the story, but and if you are, I'd like to get your take on it all, because it's quite a good story. It was about how you first met Kate, where she stormed into the studio one day. It would have been around the time of, I guess, Hold On To Me, and where she was coming in as a backing singer. What do you recall of that story?
That story. Well, she tells it sort of in a, she says she was a bit of an upstart, and Kate was following the Falcons for a long time. She loved the band, and she was just great, and she was a great dancer. And I said to management at the time, I think I said that Michael Gudinski was managing me at the time, excuse me, and Michael Roberts. And I said, there's this young girl called Kate Ceberano. You got to go and see this young girl. She's a star, like a star. She looked like she beautiful to look at, moved beautifully, sang gorgeously, and she'd be at the gigs. Like she's only 15. I said, I wonder how she's getting into these gigs. She just pushes her way through up the front. And so I've known her for a lifetime. And of course, then she had some success. And she turns up, I said, she turns up at this rehearsal, and she was just horrible, right? She was just horrible because she was, I don't know what, I think she was just full of herself on a different level. Sometimes you get to a point where, well, she wasn't prepared at best. That's, whether, I just said, well, it just can't happen. I wanted it to happen, but it wasn't going to happen. And I was kind of a bit disappointed about that. But I don't know if she said that she wasn't prepared.
It was alluded to. It was alluded to that she walked in there with a fair amount of swagger.
Well, sometimes people believe some of the bullshit that people tell them. One of the things you got to do is stay away from the bullshit, because that can get you into a lot of trouble. And I kind of learned that very early, and I'd say, well, what do people used to like us, now they don't like us? Well, what's that about? Couldn't work through that. And oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Have you got me there?
Yeah, I've still got you there.
Oh, good.
Oh, you're sideways now.
Yep, there you go.
Back.
I still don't know how to use them properly because I don't know how to switch everything off, right?
Yeah.
So my apologies to you.
No,
anyway,
that's fine,
kind of really good. But we've stayed really great friends. We've stayed really great friends throughout throughout all these years, and we're always. It's almost like something nice when we see each other,
Yeah.
And we because we like each other, and we respect each other's what we do, and so it was great to still be. It's great to still be that, and but at that time, I think she was just kind of, and rightly so too, on so many different levels. She was ready just to take off, and there was a big buzz. All she needed was the right song, which came pretty quickly, pretty much after that. But it's a credit to her, or both of us, that it's just life, isn't it? It's kind of like, and the music industry was would spit you out pretty quick in those days.
For sure. Now, the Quintessential album features a new track For Your Love.
Mm-hmm.
What's the origins of that song? Was that something that came from the sessions of the way we do business, or St George's
No,
Road? Is it something fresh that had happened for the release?
no, I had that song. We've had that song for a long time, but we had it in a different form. I always felt that that song had legs. But sometimes you kind of record a song, and I've done this many times. It's just not the right. It's it sounds okay, but it's not right. So you discard them, and not that I don't mind the old material. I don't go looking for things that didn't make the records, or for things that should have been or could have been. But I remember working on that song on the piano, and I and I found the missing part. And I always say that some songs take a long time to write, because you're not in that place, and then some songs just fall off the vine, like if it's a 10-minute walk in the park.
Yeah.
But of course, the songs that don't take too long, you've been in that place probably for a long time, and it shapes itself pretty quickly because you've been mining that area for a long time, and then you hit the vein, and something falls from that. It's a joy to get one of those.
Yeah.
And then there are songs like For Your Love. It always said the right thing, but I don't think I had the nuts and bolts for it.
Yeah.
And I think when I listen to that song, I feel good about it. I mean, I don't listen to any songs that are recorded, really. Like I don't. I had to listen to. I had to listen, putting this together, and listen to the songs, and then you have feelings about what were you thinking.
Yeah.
How could you, what got you to that point, good and bad?
Yeah.
But you normally pick the bad things. You never pick the good things. It's just when someone says, "Tell me something about all the good gigs you've done." I never think about the good gigs. I only think about the bad performances.
Yeah.
Or like the band. James Black will say to me, he says, "Gee, you played a long solo on that track last night. This is the next day, right?" He says, I said, "Yeah, I couldn't find." He says, "I couldn't find anything to play." He said, Why don't you just take the horn out of your mouth? That would save everybody there 10 minutes." And what I normally do is, the harder it is, the more I want to sort of try to find a way out. Because even like this conversation, it's about, we are riffing. We're kind of trying to create something that you ask me questions, I try to answer not in a sort of stage kind of way. I'm looking at it as a new thing. I might have a similar question, but I'm looking at it in a new way. Try to give you something that's kind of enjoyable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, when it comes to, I mean, obviously there's a second leg of the tour which is about to start in about 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
The first leg was exceptionally, successful for you, sellouts all the way. Looking like this next run too, this next leg is about to be of the same caliber of success. Is the show that we'll see on the Quintessential tour basically this Quintessential album played in full, or is it a modified version of what we got? And will you mix it up from night to night?
I'll mix it up from night to night. It's never going to be the same, but of course the staples will always be there. I can't do 21 songs in a night. It's uh, it's impossible for me, because we're a jamming band as well. And the joy has to come from within, and it has to, you want to push it out and try to get the audience as part of the living room. There, it's not us and them. There's this togetherness, and some things take a while to set up. So if I'm doing, I tend not to do the same concept, but we have a routine in a way. If I'm doing a song that James is setting up, and it feels good for me, and it's not, maybe not one of my songs, it's a cover or something, but I need, it's not the song so much. It's about the style. Sorry, did it again.
That's okay.
I'm sorry about that. It's about the style and about the mood that you're trying to create, whether it's one of my songs or not. That mood's really important to try to achieve. So you're drawing in the audience into you, and so it's now an experience. You're no longer still interested in Hold On To Me. You're still interested in any of the songs that you come to see, but all of a sudden you have a different connection to the band, and there's a different kind of value. To me, that's the best that I can be.
Yeah, for sure. Look, we are pushed for time. I could talk to you forever, Joe. There are so many questions I'd like to ask you, and hopefully we'll get to go down that road again another day soon. But the Quintessential Black Sorrows and Joe Camilleri is out tomorrow. The tour kicks off, stage 2 of the tour kicks off November 8th. And I really do look forward to catching one of the shows in Victoria. And I thank you for an amazing career and for an amazing collection of songs. And thank you for your time that you've always given to us here at the Rock Pit.
It's an absolute pleasure, and come and say hello. I know what you look like.
Will do. Thank you, Joe.
Cheers, mate.
Have a great day.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Take care, my friend. Bye.